Well, afternoon and welcome to our LinkedIn Live series. And today I'm going to be talking about enriching data. We've spent a little bit of time reflecting through this series so far and how we use data and insights to drive business performance, look at staff retention, and also just gone through the evolution of how data has developed over time. Following the recent poll, we had lots of feedback of people wanting to dig a little bit deeper into how to enrich your data. So what I'll talk you through over the next few minutes is just how we've approached that, how I've constantly looked for more data to tell us a deeper and richer story about our customers and how they use the assets for which we manage. And hopefully today will give you some insights on how you can also look at your own data set and think about bringing that to life through enriching with additional information available to you. So let's get started by talking about why we would enrich data. Well, for me, it's about understanding your base data. What does the data that you collect today tell you about the objectives or the service that you're providing? And how would you learn more if you enrich that with some external data sources that could paint a bigger picture? This is very much about looking at how other data sets can help you see trends and events and effects that have on your underlying business and your service. In our world, in looking after so many car parks on behalf of our clients, a core part of what we're looking at is how those car parks are used over time. How does the day of the week or the week of the year affect the usage of those car parks? In our hospital settings, how does the opening times for visitors or outpatients affect the changeover patterns for clinical staff within that healthcare environment? And it's really important for us as we look at that base data to understand the effect and those drivers have. So looking at that example within the car park, we capture the vehicles entering our facility, and we're able to count and understand by every hour of every day how many vehicles are in that facility. We also understand how many spaces are available, and we'll reach a calculation that we call occupancy. So what proportion of that car park is being used at any one time? We see massive fluctuations across those facilities based on the day of the week of the year, and the hour of the day. And typically within that setting, we're able to understand how those dynamics are changing over time. What we look to do in that scenario is to enrich that data with other information. So for example, what are the opening times for visitors? And are we seeing a sudden surge in occupancy around that time of visitor opening at the hospital? We also look at when the clinical and non-clinical shift patterns for staff and contractors might be taking place, and how does that coincide with the first outpatient appointment? And typically what we'll see is these events merging together to drive a big spike in occupancy in our car parks. So from the starting position of understanding and counting cars in our car parks, we can now start to understand the effect through enriching that data with some other information that's having on the use of that parking asset. If I look in some of our other scenarios, maybe in our retail and entertainment locations we look after, we see a massive effect when we have a massive movie premiere on at one of the locations which will have a cinema on site. And by overlaying those major events, we're able to predict and understand what's likely to happen on occupancy within our car parks. And I guess my point of sharing some of our examples is to show the power of how enriching that data just really helps you understand your clients more and understand what events are driving changes in your trends. I recall very familiar for an event we saw a little while ago, which was the last James Bond movie premiere. And Raj Shukla from our team was very, very clear to see the difference that made on occupancy. And we've seen very few events like that since. And it stood out as such a major event and such a major effect when many of us were trying to understand what had happened and what had driven that. But by understanding what's happening within that environment, what's causing those trends and those effects allows us to understand that customer behavior much deeper. Also, with that enrichment of data, you can also better segment your data and your trends. And you're able to overlay that data onto your base data and understanding. And I'd really ask you to sit back and think, what is it you're measuring today? And what is it you'd like to understand more about what's having an effect on your data and your insights? Typically, events and changes from what we normally expect will be happening because of an external factor. And through that process of enrichment, we can start to understand what those external factors look like. And I'd really ask you all to think about what is your most important insight and what enrichment could you do to help you understand and learn more and ultimately make better decisions or be able to predict what may happen when a similar event may happen in the future. So how do we get started? Enriching data is not a straightforward, simple process. The most important thing I would say is to use reliable and consistent data sets. The last thing you want to do is to weaken the quality of your data by adding in data which is of less quality to that of your own. And ensuring that you're matching the reliability of your data will make sure that you are enhancing and not diluting your insight. But always make sure you're answering the question, why and so what? It's very easy to add lots and lots of data sources and to enrich your information to give you better insights. But to what point? What question are you trying to answer? What information is going to help you get there? And how do you do that in a way which allows you to make a better informed decision? As we've covered before, insights can be the most powerful thing within your business. But done in the wrong way or creating too much data and not insights can also create a massive distraction for both you and your organization. So I'd really drill down on that question, so what? By knowing that a movie premiere has such a material effect to occupancy in a car park, what do we do differently? Well, for us, we would resource that location differently. We would think about giving every other visitor to that car park longer at that facility because we know there's going to be more demand for space. So those are our so whats. And I'd ask you to think about what they are for you in your business. The other point for me is about what I class as layering. So make sure you have your data and you can layer on that enrichment, but also take that away. So it's really easy for you to isolate and see that change that occurs when you layer those insights in. If we just add all the data together and it becomes part of our base insights, sometimes that value can get lost. For us, when we read a vehicle number plate in one of our facilities, we will enrich that data with the year of manufacturer, the last time that vehicle changed ownership, whether that vehicle is diesel or electric. And why are we doing that? Well, to really understand more about the use of this car park, to understand much more about what's happening to the change of vehicle types in our car park, and to help us and our clients define and also refine our electric vehicle charging strategies. Are we seeing an increasing in the demand for those charging points? Is now the time to act by adding more charging points and extending that facility for those people who need it most? And finally, I would just encourage you all to constantly review. Our base data changes all the time, and the assumptions we make today on the layering of enrichment that we can add might not be valid in a year's time. So always go back to your base profiles, make sure you're changing and adjusting your understanding, and always challenge yourself to see how you can enrich that further. And I encourage you to maybe pick one measure. Think about one insight that you understand the trends, you understand what's happening in your data, but you can't understand why that's happening. And these historical events which seem out of the norm from what your data is telling you, what data could you add in that might give you better indication of what's happening? At one of our office locations that we manage, we see our peak arrival time of individuals between about 8 and 8:30 every weekday morning. And what was fascinating when we looked at the data a little bit deeper was that shifted to 1 o'clock on a Saturday. but it only happened every other Saturday. And it took us a little bit of time to understand what was driving that event. And it might seem obvious to us now, but that was the kickoff time at a local football ground where we could see those staff members using their office facilities as parking for the football that happened at their home ground every other Saturday. And it's those events, as you question that data more, why does this event only occur every other Saturday? Why is that occupancy shifted from a weekday to a weekend? And why is it so consistently happening during these periods of times? That's where enrichment can really start to understand further. What's also great for me is it allows you to really use your insights to deeply understand your business and whatever might be relevant for you. Just go on a journey by asking that question. So what can I answer? And I also love to use the model, the 5 whys. So can you get 5 whys deep in your questioning to understand your data? And enrichment can certainly help you on that journey and help you understand a little bit more about the effect that these external events are having on your business and on your service, and how best to counteract those in the future. Our use of insights is so useful in knowing how to manage our business more effectively going forward. By understanding and reflecting on the historical events that have happened, allows us to be able to be better at predicting future events, reacting to those, and providing the best possible service we can to our clients. So this LinkedIn Live series, I'm really pleased to be continuing with. I'm going to be doing now a couple of shorter events where we dig in a little bit deeper into a number of topics. I thank those people who responded to the last poll that we pushed out. I will be putting out another poll shortly and making sure that the next LinkedIn Live we do in a couple of weeks is directly answering those questions which people want to hear more on. We will get back within a few weeks' time of inviting some more guests in, and I really have enjoyed this whole process of sharing some information. And as always, it's the feedback which really motivates me to keep going. So hopefully this has been useful for you today. What would be great down in the comments if you could share where maybe you're already enriching data, some of the value that that's delivered into your business. And maybe for those people thinking about starting, whether this has helped you think about how you might start that journey. As always, feedback is greatly appreciated. Your time watching us today is also very appreciated. And I look forward to joining you back again soon on our next LinkedIn Live. Thank you for your time today.